So I'm sitting down with my great-grandmother. You want to tell them your name and...
Yes, my name is Nora Thompson, but I'm better known as Mimi because that's what all my grandchildren call me.
So where were you born?
I was born in Gloucester, Virginia in June of 1932, right during the Depression, the Great Depression.
You want to tell me a little bit about your life and childhood?
Well, let's see. I was next to the last child born of 9 children, also 4 half-brothers and sisters. We had large families back in those days. We lived way back in the country. I used to say we were poor as dirt. Let me see.
Tell me a little bit about your house and...
It's just a tiny little old house. My gosh, we had a little small living room with a piano in it because my mother played the piano. She played the piano in church. She made sure all of us children got to church on Sunday mornings. The old bus used to come along and pick us up at the end of this road, and we'd all get down on that bus and go to church. She played the piano in church. And we had maybe 2 bedrooms for all of this huge family. 4 of us children slept in one bed. Nothing like they have today. But we didn't know we were considered poor because that's all we ever knew.
So what was school like? What was like going to school and being at school?
Going to school. I just went to school down in Gloucester just a few years in elementary school. And I guess it was like your ordinary elementary school. I remember I really liked school. Mm-hmm. I always liked it. I used to think it was fascinating, this little girl that I knew. I'd go over her house sometime and she'd have the ABCs. She had the ABCs in big blocks around her room, and I'd sit there and learn those ABCs backwards and forwards.
So was it a normal school that you went to?
It was. And then after my mother died when I was 9, I went to live with an aunt down in Norfolk. Went to just a regular elementary school there, and then a junior high school.
So the time that you were in school, was it an all-white school?
All-white schools. Back in those days, there were no black people in the schools. Mm-hmm. And it was that way until I graduated from high school. I graduated from Thomas Jefferson High School. And we had split years. We had like September to February would be one section, and then February to June the next. And I graduated in February of 1951, and there were still no blacks in schools.
So growing up, did you have a dream that you tried to
I
accomplish?
did. At first I wanted to be an opera singer because I did have a good voice, but I smoked. I started smoking when I was 15, and I ruined my voice. So it's a good thing not to smoke, not to ever smoke, because later on in life, much, much later on in life, even though I had quit smoking by the time this happened, for about 15 or 20 years, I still developed lung cancer. So good thing not to ever put that old cigarette in your mouth. And then I wanted to be a teacher, and that went by the wayside because I decided to get married instead. And in those days, nobody was married in high school, but I guess I maybe became one of the first ones at Thomas Jefferson High School. At first, they said I could not finish school, but then they let me come back and...
Because you were married?
And finish. So I graduated from high school, and during that last year I decided I wasn't going to be an opera singer and I wasn't going to be a teacher. So I concentrated on being a secretary in a high school. I mean, when I graduated, just being a secretary, and learned all of the things that you have to learn to be a good secretary, because in those days we didn't have computers, and every office had to have people who could type, take shorthand, do all that sort of stuff. So that's what I did.
So about how old were you when you had Mama and Uncle Buzzy?
Well, I was 21 when my first child, your mama, was born, and Buzzy was 2. I was about 23 when Buzzy was born.
So raising kids, was there anything to that?
Well, raising kids, their daddy was a policeman. He was a baseball player in high school. His father was a professional baseball player.
For the Braves.
Yeah,
right?
For lots of teams. He did play for the Braves. Anyway, and it was hard living on a policeman's salary back in those days. I think he made about maybe $6,000 a year, maybe. And we had a little house over there off of Broad Street in Richmond. We raised those two little children in.
So based on your experiences growing up and going to school, do you think that today in America anybody can accomplish their dreams?
Yes, they can. They absolutely can today. There's so many different organizations and things that can help children nowadays to, even if they come from poor families, they can, if they really, really, really put their mind to what they want to be, they can get help. They can get, all sorts of grants and things to help them get through college. So my advice is, if you really want to do something, go for it. You can do it.
I think that was good. Thank you. I love you.